Graceland Estate, Memphis, Tennessee, March 15th, 1972, Wednesday, 11:30 p.m. The wrought iron gates of Graceland swing open silently in the darkness, admitting a black Cadillac with heavily tinted windows. No photographers wait outside these gates tonight. No reporters lurk in the shadows, hoping to catch a glimpse of Elvis Presley's famous visitors. This meeting has been planned with the secrecy of a military operation because the two men about to sit down together represent a friendship that would shock the world if anyone knew it existed. The car pulls to a stop in front of Graceland's illuminated columns, and Muhammad Ali emerges from the passenger seat. At 30, Ali is at the peak of his boxing career, having recently reclaimed the heavyweight championship from Joe Frazier. But tonight, he moves with the careful anonymity of someone who understands that his presence here must remain absolutely private. Elvis Presley opens the front door of Graceland. Personally, no security guards, no Memphis Mafia entourage, no witnesses to document this moment. At 37, Elvis is struggling with the isolation that comes with being the most recognizable face in America, but tonight his face shows the genuine warmth reserved for the few people in his life who understand the unique burden of global fame. "Champ," Elvis says, extending his hand with a smile that few people outside his inner circle ever see. "King," Ali responds, taking Elvis's hand and pulling him into the kind of embrace that speaks to 7 years of hidden friendship, 7 years of phone calls at 3 in the morning, 7 years of understanding between two men who occupy a rarefied space in American consciousness that no one else can comprehend. Their friendship began in 1965, not through a publicist or a mutual celebrity friend, but through a chance encounter that both men have kept secret for nearly a decade. Ali was in Memphis for a boxing exhibition at the Mid-South Coliseum. Elvis was recording at American Sound Studio during one of his rare breaks from Hollywood movie obligations. They met in the parking lot of a diner on Union Avenue at 2 a.m., both trying to grab a late-night meal without being recognized by fans who would turn a simple sandwich into a circus. The diner, Meller's Drive-In, was one of the few establishments in Memphis that stayed open all night, making it a refuge for shift workers, insomniacs, and celebrities who could only live normal lives after most of the world had gone to sleep. Elvis had been frequenting the place since his teenage years, appreciating that the night shift waitresses treated him like any other customer who needed coffee and a meal. Ali recognized Elvis first. "You're the singing man," Ali said, with the characteristic confidence that made him as famous for his personality as for his boxing skills. He was sitting alone in a corner booth, having dismissed his entourage earlier in the evening, craving the solitude that fame rarely allowed. "And you're the fighting man," Elvis replied, immediately understanding that they were both experiencing the same thing. Two young men trying to live normal lives in a world that would never allow them to be normal. What should have been a brief acknowledgement between two celebrities became something much more significant. Elvis slid into the booth across from Ali, and they began talking with the honest curiosity of people who rarely encounter equals. They discovered immediately that beneath the public personas, Ali the brash boxer, Elvis the charismatic entertainer, were two thoughtful men grappling with similar pressures and responsibilities. That first conversation lasted 3 hours, extending from the diner to Ali's hotel room at the Peabody, where they talked not about music or boxing, but about the weight of representing something larger than themselves to millions of people they would never meet. They talked about the impossibility of privacy, the challenge of maintaining authentic relationships when everyone wants something from you, the loneliness that comes with being worshipped by strangers. "People think being famous is all good," Ali told Elvis that night, his characteristic bravado replaced by thoughtful introspection. "They see the money, the attention, the respect. But they don't understand that when you're famous, you're never really alone, but you're always lonely. Elvis understood immediately. This was the first time anyone had articulated feelings he had carried for a decade, but had never been able to express. The hardest part isn't the performing, he said. It's trying to figure out who you really are when the whole world thinks they already know who you are. They discovered that night that they shared more than just fame. Both had grown up poor in the South, Ali in Louisville, Elvis in Tupelo and Memphis. Both had mothers who were the most important people in their lives. Both carried the weight of representing their communities on a national and international stage, feeling pressure to be perfect role models while struggling with very human flaws and insecurities. Ali spoke about the pressure of being a symbol of black pride during the civil rights era, of having every word and action scrutinized for political meaning. Elvis talked about the pressure of being a white performer who drew heavily from black musical traditions, walking a racial tightrope that satisfied no one completely. "I love black music," Elvis confided that night. "It shaped everything about how I sing. But some people think I'm stealing from black culture, and other people think I'm betraying white culture. Sometimes I feel like I can't win." "I understand that feeling," Ali replied. "Every time I speak out about civil rights, some people say I should stick to boxing. Every time I focus on boxing, other people say I'm not doing enough for the movement. You can't please everybody." That conversation created a bond between two men who seemed, on the surface, to have nothing in common. Ali was a boxer, Elvis was a singer. Ali was black, Elvis was white. Ali was politically outspoken. Elvis avoided politics publicly. Ali was Muslim. Elvis was Christian. But beneath these surface differences, they shared something more important: the experience of being cultural icons in an era when such fame was still unprecedented. Over the next 7 years, Elvis and Ali developed a friendship built on absolute privacy and mutual understanding. They called each other regularly, usually late at night when the demands of their public lives had finally subsided. These conversations, sometimes lasting hours, covered everything from family pressures to spiritual questions to the psychological toll of living constantly in the public eye. The phone calls became a lifeline for both men. Elvis would call Ollie from Graceland at 2 a.m. Ollie would call Elvis from training camps around the country. "How are you handling it tonight?" became their standard greeting. Ali would call Elvis after difficult fights to process the emotional complexity of being simultaneously beloved and criticized. After the first Joe Frazier fight in 1971, Ali called Elvis and broke down completely. "I don't know who I am if I'm not the greatest," Ali confessed. "You're still Muhammad," Elvis replied. "You're still the man who stands up for what he believes in." Elvis would call Ali during his darkest periods, finding someone who understood that self-medication sometimes felt like the only way to cope with impossible pressures. "I'm losing myself," Elvis told Ali in 1974 after struggling through a Vegas performance. "You're not lost," Ali responded. "You're still Elvis underneath the exhaustion. Don't let the world make you forget who you are." Their friendship deepened through shared experiences that they could discuss with no one else. Both men dealt with death threats from people who saw their success as threatening to the established order. Both struggled with the expectations placed on them by their respective communities. Molly pressured to be a perfect representative of black pride and Muslim faith. Elvis pressured to be a perfect representative of white Southern masculinity. Most significantly, both men grappled with the isolation that comes from being unable to form authentic relationships when everyone approaching them has ulterior motives. Friends, lovers, business associates, Everyone wanted something from Elvis and Ali beyond simple human connection. Sometimes I wonder if anyone would care about me if I couldn't sing. Elvis confessed to Ali during one of their late-night phone conversations in 1973. "I know exactly what you mean," Ali replied. "I wonder if anyone would respect me if I couldn't fight." These conversations took place against the backdrop of an America still struggling with racial integration. Elvis and Ali's friendship existed in a cultural context where interracial relationships, especially between high-profile figures, were scrutinized, criticized, and often misunderstood by both black and white communities. Elvis faced criticism from some white fans who saw his appreciation for black music and culture as betrayal of racial loyalty. Ali faced criticism from some black activists who questioned whether friendship with a white Southern entertainer was compatible with the goals of the civil rights movement. Both men made the conscious decision to keep their friendship private, not because they were ashamed of it, but because they understood that public knowledge of their relationship would transform it into another aspect of their public personas. Their friendship was too valuable, too genuine, too necessary for their psychological well-being to risk having it analyzed, criticized, or exploited by media and fans. "This is the only real friendship I have," Ali told his trainer Angelo Dundee, who was one of the few people who knew about the relationship. "With Elvis, I can be Muhammad instead of Muhammad Ali." Elvis expressed similar sentiments to his close friend Jerry Schilling. "When I talk to Ali, I don't have to be Elvis Presley," he said. "I can just be a guy from Memphis talking to a guy from Louisville about things that matter." Tonight's meeting at Graceland represents one of perhaps a dozen times over 7 years that Elvis and Ali have been able to spend time together in person. These face-to-face meetings are rare and carefully planned, usually taking place at Graceland or at Ali's training camps when media attention is focused elsewhere. As they settle into the comfortable chairs in Graceland's living room, both men visibly relax in a way that few people ever witness. Here, away from cameras and crowds, away from the expectations and pressures of their public roles, they can engage in the kind of honest conversation that has sustained their friendship. "How are you really doing?" Ali asks Elvis, and the question carries the weight of genuine concern. Ali has been watching Elvis's recent performances, has noticed the weight gain, the prescription drug use, the signs of someone struggling with pressures that would break most people. "I'm tired," Elvis admits, and the honesty in his voice reflects the trust he has in this friendship. "I've been Elvis Presley for so long, sometimes I forget who I was before all this started." Ali nods with the understanding that comes from experiencing similar identity confusion. "I know that feeling," he says. "Sometimes I catch myself in the mirror and wonder if the person looking back is Muhammad Ali the boxer or Muhammad the man." They talk about their families, their spiritual struggles, their fears about aging and declining abilities. Ali, at 30, worries about how much longer his reflexes will remain sharp enough to compete at the highest level. Elvis, at 37, worries about whether his voice and stage presence can carry him through the demands of his Vegas residency and touring schedule. But more than discussing their professional concerns, they talk about the philosophical questions that occupy people who have achieved everything they thought they wanted, but still feel incomplete. What is the purpose of fame beyond fame itself? How do you find meaning when your every action is scrutinized and interpreted by millions of strangers? How do you maintain humility when the world treats you as larger than life? "You know what I've figured out," Elvis tells Ali as their conversation extends past midnight. "The hardest part about being us isn't the pressure from other people. It's the pressure we put on ourselves to live up to what everyone else thinks we are." Ali considers this observation carefully. That's why this friendship matters so much, he says. You're the only person who knows what it's like to be expected to be perfect all the time. As their meeting extends into the early hours of Thursday morning, Elvis and Ali discuss topics they can explore with no one else. They talk about the responsibility they feel to their communities and fans. They discuss their relationships with women, complicated by the reality that romantic partners must navigate not just personal chemistry, but the pressures of being involved with public figures. They also discuss their spiritual beliefs, finding common ground despite their different religious backgrounds. Both men have been shaped by faith traditions that emphasize humility and service to others, and both struggle with reconciling those teachings with lives that seem to contradict humility at every turn. I pray every night, Ali confesses, but sometimes I wonder if God gets tired of hearing from people who have so much when so many people have so little. I think about that too, Elvis responds. I try to give away money to help people when I can, but it never feels like enough compared to what I've been given. These conversations reveal the depth of character that exists beneath their public personas. The media portrays Ali as brash and supremely confident, Elvis as a charismatic entertainer who lives for applause. But in private, both men grapple with questions of purpose, meaning, and responsibility that would challenge anyone, famous or not. As their meeting draws toward dawn, Elvis and Ali make plans for their next contact. Another late-night phone call in a few weeks, possibly another face-to-face meeting when Ali comes through Memphis for his next fight. These meetings and conversations will continue for several more years, providing both men with the psychological support that sustains them through the challenges of their unprecedented fame. When Ali finally leaves Graceland as the sun rises over Memphis, both men understand that they have just experienced something precious and rare, genuine human connection, unburdened by the complications that fame brings to most of their relationships. In the months before Elvis's death, their conversations become more frequent. During their last call in June 1977, Elvis tells Ali something haunting: "I don't think I have much fight left in me." When Elvis dies 2 months later, Ali is devastated by losing the one person who truly understood their shared burden. Ali attends the funeral privately, maintaining the secrecy that made their friendship sacred. Years later, when asked about Elvis, Ali says only, "He was my friend, a real friend. We understood each other in a way most people couldn't understand." Their friendship influenced both men profoundly. Elvis's respect for Ali's courage encouraged him to be more socially conscious. Ali's appreciation for Elvis's artistry broadened his cultural interests. More importantly, their friendship provided both with authentic relationship that transcended the superficial connections fame typically generates. At a time when interracial relationships were controversial, especially between public figures, Elvis and Ali demonstrated that genuine human connection could transcend racial boundaries. They did so quietly, without fanfare, understanding their friendship was too valuable for public scrutiny. Their conversations explored questions their public roles prevented them from discussing: what responsibility comes with influence? How do you maintain humility when millions treat you as larger than life? These discussions revealed both men as deeper thinkers than their personas suggested. The friendship between Muhammad Ali and Elvis Presley represents something unique. Two people at fame's pinnacle who found authentic human connection based on mutual understanding rather than exploitation. They were friends for 7 years, but nobody knew. They met in secret, called each other at 3 a.m., shared the burden of being icons. They hid their friendship because they understood some relationships are too valuable for public scrutiny, too genuine to become publicity. In a world that watched their every move, Elvis and Ali created private space where they could be themselves. Not the king and the greatest, but two men trying to live authentically in circumstances that seemed designed to make authenticity impossible. Their hidden friendship proves that even in the most public lives, genuine privacy and connection remain possible. Sometimes the most important relationships are the ones nobody knows about. Sometimes the greatest gift famous people can give each other is freedom to be human in private. Elvis and Ali understood this, and their secret friendship remains one of the most beautiful examples of authentic human connection in an era when such relationships between public figures were becoming increasingly rare and difficult to maintain.